صدر ہیں اور ہمارے سرپرست ہیں، انہوں نے اس ساری محفل کو سجایا. مجاہد بھائی سے شاید سیما جی کی ملاقات نہیں ہوئی ہے، وہ مینجمنٹ میں تھے بلکہ ابھی بھی ویڈیو بنا رہے ہیں. تو یہ ان کا کار واش ہے. انہوں نے اس کار واش کو 7 مئی تک الیکشن آفس ڈکلیئر کر دیا سیما جی. تو یہ آفس جو ان کا کار واش ہے، یہ 7 مئی تک جو بھی یہاں پر آئے گا وہ یہاں سے لیبر کا، اور یہاں صرف ہنسلو کے لوگ نہیں آتے، یہاں آئزر برگ کوئی ہیرو کے لوگ بھی آتے ہیں، ہر جگہ کے بندے آئیں گے اور وہ یہاں سے ایک میسج لے کے جائیں گے کہ آپ لیبر کو ووٹ دیں. اور 7 مئی بلکہ 7 مئی 2020 تک، بلکہ جب تک یہ ان کے پاس رہے گا انشاءاللہ ہم یہ امید رکھتے ہیں کہ دس ول بی ڈن. کیونکہ ہمارا یہ تو ہے کہ ہمارے یہاں سردار جی اور یہ سارے بڑے ہمارے بزرگ بیٹھے ہیں کہ what we can say that we have a sincerity, we have some values which we can share. If we are with somebody, so he should know, or he or she should know that we are with them. So this is جسے ہم اپنی اردو زبان میں وفا کہتے ہیں، sincerity, love and care with someone. So یہ ہمارے پاس یہی ہے. اور وہ مجاہد بھائی اس ورک شاپ سے، اس کار واش سے ہم کوشش کریں گے کہ ہر جگہ یہ میسج آئے. میں بہت مشکور ہوں آپ سب دوستوں کا، آپ بزرگوں کا، آپ تشریف لائے. مجیب بھائی ہمارے حیدرآباد دکن ایسوسی ایشن کے صدر ہیں، یہ کچھ اپنے الفاظ میں آپ سب کا شکریہ ادا کریں گے. اس کے بعد ہم سوال جواب، اور خاص طور پہ جو ہمارے پنجابی اور ہمارے سردار آئے ہیں ہماری حوصلہ بڑھانے کے لیے، ہم ان کے بہت مشہور ہیں. ساؤتھ ہال سے راجہ عبدالقیوم صاحب تشریف لائے ہیں، ان کا ہم مشہور ہیں. اور سب خاص طور پہ اس کے بعد سوال جواب بھی ہیں. اینڈ سیما از ہیئر فار یور آل سارٹ آف کوسچنس ٹو بی آنسرڈ.
میں آپ سب کا شکر گزار ہوں کہ آپ لوگوں نے قیمتی اپنا ٹائم یہاں پہ ہم سب کے ساتھ نکالا ہے. اور اس دوران سیما ملہوترا کا بہت بہت شکریہ. اور میں چاہتا ہوں کہ ہم سوال جواب کے ٹائم پہ جو ہے کچھ ریفریشمنٹ چلیں، اور آپ کو جیسے اس کمیونٹی کے ویلفیئر کے بارے میں جو بھی سوالات کرنا ہے وہ سیما ملہوترا صاحب سے کر سکتے ہیں.
جی بھائی کی گفتگو سے زیادہ ان کی سپورٹ لگ رہی ہے، جس سے وہ سیمیاں اور اب ہم اگلے سیگمنٹ کی ہے کہ is it okay to question or let's start with some questions. Opposite across the road King's Way کے آنر ہے اور جو ہے ویری کائنڈ. اور ہمارے جو سیکنڈ فلور پہ میک ہیں مختار صاحب ڈائریکٹ اسٹاف والے، وہ ان کی سن ان لا ہے. سو اس طرح بہت قریب ہیں ہم. میک جی نے مجھے کل ہی فون کیا تھا انڈیا سے، تو میرا ان کے سامنے آفس ہے. اچھا مارٹن روز صحیح. بلکہ آپ کی جو وہ ہے بیٹی وہ شاید کونسلر بھی ہیں. So now the mic is with you. Anybody, any question? Yes. Silence. No question. Yes, please.
If you don't mind if I come here and ask. Okay.
Oh, you want to hear?
No, just here. So you can hear this. No, my question is really on the international side of politics, not the local politics.
Okay.
And really, I would like to know the Labour's stance on this one. I mean, I'm sure everyone would have heard the comments made by the Israeli president on the two-state solution, and he has straight away said that he does not believe in that. And at the same time, he said the settlements in the occupied territories will continue, which goes in total contradiction with the Camp David talks, the EU roadmap, and the UN resolutions. As far as Labour is concerned, if you come into power and post-election, I'm sure you will be taking some sanctions against Russia for the occupation of parts of Ukraine and so on. Similarly, what stance or concrete steps Labour is intended to take against Israel who has occupied the land? That's my question. And it's really a question not to you personally, but the Labour stance. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And I will answer that both me and the Labour Party. 2 years ago I visited Palestine. I went on a trip and it changed completely my understanding of the situation in Israel-Palestine. I had no idea that actually Palestine wasn't really a separate state because it is talked about as if it is. I had no real idea that you had Palestinian children and those in Palestine who were living under Israeli military law. I had no idea that they effectively pay all their taxes into Israel and then get back what is given, which gave Israel that power to withhold tax receipts recently as well. Now that isn't a way that a place like Palestine, with some of the highest educational attainment in the world as well, of any nation, should be living. So we've always had a position, we have a position of a two-state solution, and the need to be supporting a dialogue that leads to that outcome. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the behaviour of Israel has crossed lines. I do believe that what happened in Gaza last summer also pushed more people to open their eyes to what is happening between those two nations. Now, it is incredibly difficult to get any traction with Israeli politics, to get any way in which you're having confidence in that dialogue. That has to continue. But at the same time, I think we need to be much tougher as an international community on making sure that the illegal settlements are stopped. I don't think we've been tough enough on Israel with that. I think there should be a stronger boycott of produce from Israeli settlements as well. I think we need better labelling of that, and the EU has a really important part to play, and I talk to our MEPs about that as well. Because so much of the produce we buy here, I do check where's it from, and if I can't tell which part of Israel it's from, then I do have to assume with many of them that these are from settled territories, and that is wrong. So I do think you've been right, actually, the Labour Party as well, to say that you recognise Palestine, to make that move to support whichever steps Palestine can take on the international stage to raise its voice. I absolutely support as well the work that's gone on between Hounslow and Ramallah in terms of the twinning, because those cultural links are a lifeline to sometimes feeling that the rest of the world has left you behind. Now, I have spoken up in Parliament on the Israel-Palestine situation. I'm planning another visit, which I would have liked to have done, but it was too busy in the election period. Because we have to keep going as parliamentarians. When we keep going as parliamentarians, we see the situation live as it is. When we come back and we speak out in Westminster, sometimes that's the loudest voice that you can have, because the media doesn't cover the situation as well. My view is that journalists don't understand the situation, and that we need to be taking journalists out with us as well, so that they can see for their own eyes what's happening, and not take it as hearsay from one side or the other, where they're more likely to have friends with a background and connection to Israel than they may be having friends and connections to Palestine. So there is a lot more that we have to do. In my view, it's something that my generation of politicians needs to step into. We need to step into that political battle. We need to step into that more on the world stage. And I have had a history and a record, partly because of my work with Labour Friends of Palestine and the Middle East as well, which was even before I became a Member of Parliament, to be continuing to be one of those voices in Westminster.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, see while we were in government, when the government changed to conservative, the immigration fees is the same. There is a rise in immigration fees for every year. Like in April, there is a change in fees, whether while you're in the government or while you're in while the government came as a conservative. Second question is, while you were in the meeting, you said that you're going to cut the waiting times in the NHS. So I don't see any difference. While you were in the government, the waiting times have been same, like 4 hours, minimum 4 hours. Sometimes goes to 2 hours, and while it's continuing the same. So how can you say that it's going to change? What's your policy? I mean to say, what stance are you going to give us, and what policy you're going to bring to cut the waiting times?
If I talk about the NHS first, last year over 1 million people waited more than 4 hours in A&E. Not just that, but the cancer treatment waiting times, the targets have been missed repeatedly for most of the last year, 2 years as well. Progressively, the service is getting worse in the NHS. When the Tories came in, they promised they would not be doing any reorganisation. They did a huge reorganisation based on ideology. Even David Cameron did not understand what Andrew Lansley was doing. They did not collectively understand how they were changing the health service and breaking it up. It led to much more changes in the management of the health service, a lot of negative changes where very good experienced people left. Then they were hired back on freelance terms at multiple times of their salary. You have nurse training places that were stopped under this government. You had the ratio of GPs to patients that was removed, so you used to have a maximum number of patients for any one GP. That was removed. Hounslow has one of the highest ratios now of patients to GPs. So GPs can take the money, but then they're struggling to deliver the service. So that's partly why we've also seen the NHS be under such strain. We've seen the waiting time for GPs go up, whether that is it's not just even 1 week, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I've heard it on doorsteps. I heard it today. I heard it when I went to school day this morning. I heard it this evening in Felton. I've heard it in a survey I've done in Heston. That people are waiting a long time. That is a common experience, not an ad hoc, not what's happened to someone else. Everybody has a family story now. So there are outcomes that are consequences of the political decisions that the government has made. Now, we have chosen to do something different. We're choosing to invest in the NHS, to invest for 20,000 more nurses, because the nurses that are in the NHS are under so much pressure. Their morale is low. Even West Middlesex is having to recruit so many more nurses from abroad because they can't find the nurses here. Those agency staff being recruited from abroad is costing the NHS more money. So unless we invest again in what the Tories cut, when you cut training places for a few years, it holds back for 5 or 10 years what comes through the system. Unless we train fast and we recruit locally, we don't build a sustainable workforce in the future. So 20,000 more nurses is our first pledge. 8,000 more GPs is our second pledge. Because if we bring in more GPs, we will reduce the pressure on those local services and increase the time that GPs have to care. We will also be having 5,000 more home care workers, because one of the biggest issues we face is bridging the care between hospitals and the community. So people are staying in hospitals, many older people, but also those with disabilities or other problems, because they can't get the care in the community because there isn't the provision there. So we're increasing the number of home care workers and how we bridge those services and use those budgets to manage across the hospital and community health care, so that we're actually seeing the system work more in terms of how people want to be treated, not that they are stuck in hospital because they can't get this care, but we see the whole person, and the whole system is geared to supporting the whole person and the family of the whole person. So those are some changes for a party that believes in the NHS, because we founded the NHS, and we believe that care should be free at the time of need. And we believe that unless we make this investment in a national system and deal with the system nationally, rather than privatising bits, and the Tories have increased the amount of private companies coming into the NHS where it becomes disproportionately powerful to the public sector part of it, which is what we object to. The public sector part of it should be staying the most powerful, so that it is a national health service that remains free, that the community need, and is there for generations to come. That's why we're saying that the NHS is a key voice at this election.
Any other questions? No? What Seema said about Palestine, I was on that side also, his name. And Labour has a very much clear version, opinion. And what they are doing at the European Parliament, we should also be aware. And I met first time about months ago to Seema. I introduced one of our family friend and Labour's big shot, Raja Mohammad Afzal Kani, who was in the Manchester's 700 history, first Muslim mayor, Lord Mayor. Now he is MEP. And he has been in a foreign affairs of the one select committee. So I has his regularly receiving his bill. The Labour is doing excellent on this issue. He was the person who hold a European Parliament to vote on the last year what was going on in Gaza. So this is what Seema was just saying about Palestine. I was very much pleased that they all members, either in the Parliament of UK or in the Europe, they are all on the same page. Thanks God. This is a wonderful thing, and we must appreciate that our representatives are well aware of the international issues and they are touching the hearts. Anything else? So thank you very much for all your presence here, and especially for Seema, and we pray for her success. And please do vote and support, and wherever she is, like she has a plan about the 7th of May in Hyderabad. WhatsApp group, we will make it more active, and she has hands up to, because she's busy in some meetings and all the way, so we will get some administrative rights from her and share with the people. Because we have some, as Brother Nadeem knows, Brother Mujib is, because Hyderabadi, some are in Harrow, some are in East London, and you will be amazing that last 3 years we have been Iftar. You were not part of that, but Iftar is about 500 people. So Hyderabadi are in the East London, they are much more active. So about 1,500, 1,000 people are there for Iftar. And we are, as you know, Ramadan is around the corner. So last 3 years, Mr. Mujib has been organizing Iftar. Last year we have in a Cranford school, it was about 400 people were there. And very international fame like Yusuf Chambers, Abdul Rahim McCarthy, they all were there, all on TV and the Islam channel. So we are inviting these dignitaries. So we can also influence some people, we know families, a large community, Pakistani community and Indian community in Harrow. So we request them to support Seema or like support Labour and definitely to make the difference. So now we are sorry? Healing, yeah. Healing also. So Raja is there. No, she knows already Imran Hamid is on her list already. She knows. Imran is a very fan of. He used to say that I'm very Imran Hamid, who is our trustee of that mosque. So it's this way we can maneuver the things. The Raja Kulkiyum has his own WhatsApp group about more than 100 people. So one of his friends, Zahir, who is, he has thousands of four groups. So even Manchester, he can, from here to London, he can campaign in Manchester. So these are the tools which we can, it's international issues, everybody can, across the countries and the continents. So thank you very much for all your presence, and we are grateful you are here, and Seema, we are also grateful to you that you gave some time to us. So now let's start with the sport, and wherever Seema leaves us, we all will be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay blessed. So just add me. So I will start process of admin. This evening I will start it.
Will you keep the admin?
I don't know.
I'll add you.
Yeah, once you give me the
Then you can.
then what I will do, I will add in all these. And just let me know. Even ask John to respond on the next schedule. What's happening is the easiest way. So if somebody, because
I think Sophia sent it out tonight.
either we can make an email or smartphone, we can WhatsApp, ask fastest being the whole that we have, then we at least 1 or 2 cars is possible.
Perfect.
All the time.
Sophia's doing admin for all of those,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice evening.
Yeah, what for? Labor! 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 Labor!
Keep going.
Labor! Labor!